this week, we're going to be picking up and talking about more outrageous memories in Jem and the Holograms, Part 2.0, the after show, and how it entranced so many back then during that era for many years, all the way up to present day. So, without further ado, let's board the Starlight Express and let's head on into the orchard. And now, back to Jem.
Da, 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 da.
Jem! Joke about the rockin' rockster. I don't understand. That was the car right there. So why in the world are we taking the Starlight Express instead?
The Rockin' Roadster.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, because we want to be able to take all of our listeners with us, all two of them. So, we need a people mover.
Good joke. I love it. But you remember, right before we got into, the meat of our show today, we did that little bumper thing that they do when, you get done with the commercial breaks. Remember that, where they say that? They go, and now back to Jem.
Yes.
So Coop, do you remember, that was one of the epic things about Jem and the Holograms. It was the songs that was connected to the show, the theme songs.
Absolutely. Yes. Because you can sing them right now.
You really can. I mean, they're right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, we're all us fans, we're familiar with, the regular where they go, she's like, Jem, ooh, Jem, truly
Yes.
outrageous, ooh, ho,
Yes.
And that was pretty much the standard theme that you'd hear, I'd say, any show coming or going.
Yeah.
But then she had that other rendition of it.
Yes.
Real peppy, lively, and upbeat,
Yes, it was me and my friends are Jem girls. Jem in my lane.
Truly outrageous that. That's what they're like, glamour, fashion, and fame. That song was the bomb. I don't care what anybody says.
It was. And do you remember when they did another rendition that added the Misfits? We are the Misfits, and we're gonna get her. Oh my goodness. Do you remember that?
I do. It was always subpar from Jem's.
It was, yes. Hers was melodic, and they were just harsh. The singing was harsh.
Oh my goodness. But what was really amazing too about Jem was that it latched onto that very hardcore 80s theme. It was the MTV era, pop culture.
Hands down.
And it was in all kinds of shows, cartoons, sitcoms, no matter what. There was always some kind of a theme, or usually some kind of a theme, where there was alter egos.
Yes.
And that was the allure of Jem, because, here she was, Jerrica Benton versus Jem. She was, as Jerrica, manager of Starlight Music.
Yes.
And then she had the orphanage, where she'd take care of, underprivileged girls and mentored them, but then just with the earrings, she would go into mode, synergy would help her, and then she'd turn into Jem. She was this punk rocker. It was so cool, it's
completely cool.
I mean, we'd sit and watch that, and we were enthralled.
We were, because they really embraced that for kids.
Yes.
I mean, they brought it to our level to where you could really identify with it, because we had a love of music anyway.
Oh yeah.
It was like, oh, she's ours, she's us,
Yes. Yeah. And two, I think kids had more of a encouraging nudge to tap into our imaginations. Like, so much of the entertainment would cause us to go into our imaginations and create these worlds, you know.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you couldn't wait to grow up because of it. You're like,
Yeah, you wanted to be that.
and now we're adults. We're like, where's that time machine? I want to go back where it was. A lot less fuss, life and fuss.
Yeah, you grow up and realize it's a little different than what you had imagined.
Just a little bit.
Absolutely. You know, so thank you, our listeners, for joining us backstage today. Thank you so much. We're glad to be able to talk with you and kind of get some of the things that we remembered and get some of the things that you remember about this wonderful band. So on that note, no pun intended.
You're so fat, Coop.
So, who was your favorite? You want to tell our listeners who your favorite was there, Kennedy?
Oh my goodness. Mine's pretty boring because it's Jem.
That's not boring.
I mean, yeah, like I really dug on that one. I loved pink. Jem had pink hair. I mean, that was
oh yeah.
That was the bee's knees right there. I was like, oh my goodness, she's cool. I don't know.
Yes.
And of course, you know, like again, we were into music and everything, and she was a rocker, and she had this jet-setting, fascinating lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, and that was like, I think around the pivotal years that we were, you know, launching, we were transitioning from, you know, preteen into teenage years. And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was just, there was a lot of pivotal stuff at that time. And Jem, I have to say, I'm happy to say that she was instrumental in that.
I remember one of our very best friends in our girl squad, one of our sisters. She was usually like, she wanted to play the lead in most things, you know, yes, and we let her, no problem.
She did.
But when it came to this, Jem, she was totally fine with allowing you to be the lead. So that was really cool. Like, she must recognize that you really identified with her.
Yes, that's right. It's like, that's the only other way. That's the only way we'll do this. I'm glad she understood and got the memo.
Right.
So, who was your favorite, Coop?
Okay. Without getting too long on this, because I could go too long on this. So, back then, remember Sheila E?
Oh, yes.
She was the quintessential 80s rocker.
She was awesome. She was bad to the bone, wasn't she?
She was like Jem and The Holograms in real life. She had that about her. So I love the drums. I love Sheila. I was Sheila in my mind. So I guess that made me Shayna by default. And then Shayna, she decided she was going to start doing, she was creating the outfits for the girls, and she decided to do that instead of playing the drums. She does come back and play guitar, but anyway, long story short, they brought in another girl, Rhea, and she played the drums. So then I guess I just morphed into her because I stayed loyal to the drums. And she
Coop really did, because don't let the glamorous life and love bazaar come on, because Coop was in the zone. All right. She was like, that is who I is. Got it.
Yes, I think we did even have some recordings on a cassette tape somewhere where I was singing one of those songs badly.
That is classic, Coop.
So, enough on that. Do you remember how the Misfits, they also added a character? Do you remember that?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and her name was Sheila Burns, and that was the interesting thing about this. Everybody had first and last names. They had job. I mean, they had families. They had all this going on. They were really real. But anyway, her stage name was Jetta, and she played the saxophone.
Right. You know, and like you said, to your point, this whole world was so well developed.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it was entertaining anyway, but You had some think tanks putting some real good thought into this. It was a whole conglomerate. Like,
It really was.
yeah,
It really
yeah.
was. And to your point, remember there was Clash in video?
Yes.
They were cousins. Look, there's another link. They were
Yes.
cousins, but Clash was like the one that ran around and did bad stuff for the Misfits because she wanted to be an honorary band member.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So she
Uh-huh.
would do the bad stuff for them, and video was completely for Jem and the Holograms. And she was a friend. She was a true friend. She would help them out. But they were family, so they were a family divided because of that.
Mm.
Yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
well rounded, like you said, very developed story.
Yeah. A lot better than the stuff today. Yeah, cough, cough. I mean, like, I don't know what's happened to the talent in that kind of thing, you know.
I don't know. It's like,
It's,
is the man just not there anymore? And they're like, well, we'll just give you whatever and you'll take it.
I don't know. I truly miss those times. I really do, because I mean, it's like we enjoyed this stuff.
We did. And remember, there was Lindsay Pierce, Lindsay. She was a video jockey,
I do. I do.
and she would often interview the holograms.
Yes, I do.
And here's another one, Dance. Do you remember Dance?
I do remember Dance too. Yes.
What do you remember
Yes.
about her?
She was real, she had long blonde hair, and she kind of reminds you of like those little music box figures, or like the kind of like the girl that was the last unicorn, just very, yeah,
Yes.
real femme, real wafy and just sweet, and she just, she was very graceful.
Yes. She was delicate looking. Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Very cool. Yeah. And I think she was their official choreographer for Jem and the Hologram. She was their friend, but she was their choreographer as well.
Well, makes sense, right?
Right?
So again, Jim was such a wonderful live action animated series that it ran for 3 whole seasons.
That's staying power. That's longevity for a cartoon.
It
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I think the first 2 seasons had about 26, 27 episodes.
Oh,
And then by the time the third season rolled around, they kind of chopped that in half and went with just 12, I think.
oh, that's a significant difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, well, what happened there?
Mm-hmm.
But I
Well,
do remember I saw one time, I know someone said, always leave the stage with them wanting more. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that was a good idea. I don't know. I mean, we were fans of this, so we were just kids enjoying it, and then it ended, and we're like, "What happened?"
Yes.
But like, I think back in that era of television and movie entertainment, really we'll talk about television because that's when things were more uh, continuous running.
Yes. Yeah.
But there were a lot of sitcoms or shows that would just end, and you thought, "Man, it was so good. There was a lot of fans, and what happened?" And
Yeah.
but now thinking about it, you look hindsight and you think that was probably a good call because
Mhm.
like what they would have probably had to do so much to the storyline. They'd water it down, adding characters and
Yeah.
or putting bizarre twists in it that didn't make sense to the original concept. And you
Right.
know so yeah, it's good to pull the plug sometimes.
Right. And then you fast forward to we're having this conversation now. So
Hmm.
like we were saying, if they had stayed on longer, maybe we wouldn't have remained fans like that.
True.
They may not have had the fans for as long as they've had. So
Right.
sad to see it go, but we still have the very fond memories and how much and how well it did at the time.
Oh, truly. Well said, Coop.
Now, here's another thing. Do you remember we had sticker books? Do you remember there were sticker books that we had and you could buy their outfits for the sticker book?
Now that I do not remember.
Really?
No, and that's kind of weird because 80s, we were all about the stickers, anything.
Oh, yes,
Like the scratch,
absolutely.
like the scratch and sniffs and all that. I don't remember that though, Cube. Now you have to refresh my memory on that one.
Yes, it was like glossy pages,
Hmm.
and it would have them like they'd be like in a mall setting. There was if you turn the page, and then they'd like be in the airport or on a stage, and you would buy their actual stickers. You could buy a packet of stickers and peel them off and put them on them, because they were like soft stickers, like they were flappy stickers. You know what I mean? Like nylon, not nylon. They were like a different material. They weren't paper stickers, I guess is where I'm going.
Okay.
They were kind of like stretchy.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you could put them on and you could peel them off real easy off of the glossy pages.
Boy, I'm still drawing a blank. Good grief. You could tell too, right?
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. But I will have to Google you one, let you see it, see if you remember it from looking at it.
Oh, good deal. Deal.
So, on that note, fun fact, all of this that came from a doll line idea first.
The whole concept of Jem from a
The
doll
whole
line?
concept, yes, from a doll line.
Okay, that's cool.
Kind of not what I would have expected. What about you?
No, I maybe thought it would have been the other way around.
Right. So it was originally created by Sunbow Productions, and they promoted the doll line that was created by Hasbro.
Oh,
And we
okay.
know Hasbro from the 80s. We've already mentioned G.I. Joe.
Yes.
There's My Little Pony. Yes. So there's all this awesome backstory, which is very impressive. But, the dolls hit shelves, I believe, in March of 86.
Oh, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
So, the dolls, they came out with cassette tapes, which is very, very 80s. They had so many outfits, like you name it, they had it. And there were multiple stage sets that you could get, very, very, for the band.
Yeah.
I think there was a keyboard set.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just mind-blowing.
It is. And real quick, because the 80s, that was like toy era.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you mentioned, G.I. Joe and My Little Pony, like we loved it as kids. We were bombarded with toys and dolls. And,
yes.
it's like, okay, what's next? Like we were always bugging our poor mom. I'm sure she wanted to bury us in the backyard because of it. But
yeah, anytime she did a catalog, we were ready to go straight to the toy section. Remember that?
Oh,
she'd have
yes.
to hide her catalogs from us.
She was like, no, just no. But it's crazy because like we are child free. We're happily child free. We've said that before in the podcast, but
yes,
I don't get the feel that toys, like when we were coming up, they're around, but they're not a thrust. They're not the big deal anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're really, really small. Like we were preteens, we were still playing with Barbies and stuff. So that was a thing.
Absolutely.
But now it's like little kids, little babies or kids, or I don't know, what's the cutoff maybe today? Like somebody's maybe even 7 or 8's too old. They're not interested. I don't know.
Yeah. They're little mini-me's. They're little mini adults out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're all wrapped up in the technology side of things. So yeah, the physical toys that you can move around and stuff, I just don't think they're a thing anymore.
No, but since we're talking about the time when it was, so what did Jem come up against that made it very interesting for us kids in our imaginations?
Oh, right. Yeah, so here we go with this. True to the nature of being a band, and it was a story weaved all throughout the cartoon, was Battle of the Bands.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had one that actually existed in real life, and that was within 1985. Mattel's Barbie and the Rockers were featured in a catalog, and they hit store shelves also in the year of 1986.
I remember Barbie and the Rockers. I remember the commercial
Oh,
too.
right?
Barbie and the Rockers. They're like, Barbie and the Rockers. And they had them moving back and forth with their bent arms, like.
And that, it's like we had nothing against Barbie.
No.
But when it came to who was going to be the better rock band, not even hold a candle. It was not even a thing.
Yeah, Jem beat out Barbie. Jem beat out Phyllis. I mean, pizzazz.
She did.
Yeah, when you're good, you're good. So Jem got them all beat.
Yeah.
But wasn't it though that it said word had it that as of 1987 that Jem actually sold more than 3 million dolls?
Yes, that's a lot of dolls.
That is a lot of dolls. And probably the reason being is the series had a whopping 2.5 million viewers every week.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
We've said that before, but that is a lot of children right there.
And loyal.
Man,
They wanted to see that show. They wanted to dive into this world,
Right. And they even described this cartoon, which, and I quote, and I totally agree with this, that it was more like an adaptation from a novel than it was a cartoon.
Okay.
There was that much story. And this was all from a doll line. But, like you said, 2.5 million viewers. We wanted to view everything from week to week. We wanted to stay up what is happening in her life today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is. That was a serious storyline.
Yeah. And we'd be super intrigued and tuning in every Saturday morning. Like around 11:30 to see it.
Yes. Every time we could. And I think there was like over 180 songs performed by each band throughout that show.
This, again, a live action cartoon.
Yes.
Okay, she had more play and cred than probably people really at the time trying to, like real life people, getting onto MTV, VH1, having their work recognized and appreciated. Like, I mean, this is a live action cartoon. She did probably better than they did.
We're still fans. And so realistic was it that even in a real music magazine, everybody's heard of Rolling Stone, back in 2018, they actually did an article about Jem and the Holograms, right?
What?
Yes, they really did. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they featured this, they do something called GemCon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going on for several years now. You can buy tickets. It's like a 3-day event. People bring their doll collections. They dress up. They do activities. I mean, they go all out for this.
Wow.
Yes. And it's people from all over the world come for that. Oh, and it's been in different locations. It started out in Minnesota, I think. And then, it ended up being like in Cleveland, New York. Like I said, it's gone all over and people travel for it.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And people have gotten married. They've met and gotten married. Right?
Oh
so
goodness.
Whole life stories have bloomed and blossomed from being fans of Jem.
That is crazy. So she really just dialed up a whole culture, like another culture of its own.
That's it, exactly.
Oh my god, that is amazing.
Yes. And which is nice when you have these types of things. A lot of times they'll bring in the actual talent who performed or whatnot, and they had people who were like voice actors and things. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you were like me. Did you think that Jem, the one who spoke for Jerica and sang for Jem, was the same person?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, yeah, I did too. Yes. But it was different. There was a different singer, but it was so seamless. It sounded like it was the same person.
It did.
They did a really nice job.
Oh, wow.
But Samantha Newark, she is the one who voiced Jerica and Jem. She did the speaking parts. She's actually attended one of these, or maybe multiple, I don't know. But she has attended. And she has met several people who they start crying when they talk to her.
Oh.
Yes, it is quite the emotional trek for them because it takes them right back. And she says that they've gotten apologetic, because they're so emotional. And she's like, I get it, which is even weirder because if she says their name, they're like, oh, Jerica's talking to me. Jim's talking to me.
That would be a bit surreal, wouldn't it?
It would.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like that just proves that the love of Jem and the holograms and that whole culture, it really meant something to people and it really had that staying power.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Right. And you remember, okay, there was a little movie that came out back in 2015.
Hey, we need to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. And it will only be a hot second because what happened? It was a bad idea. Good concept, but bad idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who wouldn't want to see it? I know when they first mentioned it, it was like, oh, wow, really? But then just from the preview, it was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to see that. Yeah.
Well, that goes along with our tirade from time to time about Hollywood and their remakes. And some things are sacred. I mean, literally, if they had treated the project with kid gloves, they might have done okay. Like, it has a following.
Yes.
This is not just something to make a quick buck on. This is not something to just toy with. No, there are real fans out there. We're sitting right here. We're two of them.
Exactly.
I mean, I didn't see it.
No.
I never got around to it, but I didn't want to see it. Like you said, from the trailer, the previews, you're like, oh, what is this?
Right.
I mean, it just seemed like something completely different than what we knew and loved as Jem live action entertainment on Saturday mornings back when.
Exactly. And to your point, if they had here, GymCon has brought in talent that people recognize, right? If they had done more with the actual talent of these people who made Jem a thing, like using Christy Marks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They gave her a cameo, I guess, in the movie. Like you said, we didn't see it, but they gave her a cameo, but she did none of the writing. Why would you not have her do any of the what?
Yeah, she is obviously one of the biggest geniuses behind the whole concept.
Exactly. Yeah, that would have been like a hands down hole in one.
I don't know. That's totally our opinions. I know it's mine. I have a hard time with what Hollywood has become. I mean, you still might find a thing or two that might pique or capture your interest.
Right.
But I mean, now versus then, like, you couldn't keep up with all the stuff you wanted to watch and enjoy and follow.
Yeah.
Now you're like, I don't know what's out. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, and this was, what was it? You said it was 2015 that they did the Jem and the Holograms movie?
Yes.
I mean, that was what? What was that now? I gotta do math, 5 years ago? 6 years ago? Okay. So that was 6 years ago. And I mean, like, that one, they just had to drop, they did it. Okay, next,
Right. Right.
And they ruined a good thing for a lot of true and tried fans.
Exactly. Now, here's a good question for you, Kennard.
All right.
If they were to go ahead and remake it, try to do it again, and use the actual people who drove this story, created this story, and made a live action movie, would you want to see it?
If they did it right, if they actually took care of it with kid gloves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go see it. Yeah, I would.
Count me in. Me too. Hands down, I would love to see it.
I don't know why, with all the technology and stuff that's going now. I mean, like, everything is limitless now.
Yeah.
I don't know why we can't get better.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question to ponder, I guess. Because I don't think there's an easy answer. I mean, it may be an easy answer, but it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I feel like it's not too much to ask, but it is,
Yeah.
and that's why we're glad and grateful to still have our nostalgic retro memories of when it was good and when it was heartwarming.
Right.
I mean, like
Exactly.
Coop owns it on DVD. She has a whole collection. She has the DVD collection because we're old school and we are not
Yes.
ashamed of our DVDs.
Not at all.
But like seriously, you have a nice rainy fall afternoon or you're on vacation or something, just take your DVDs with you, pop it in your laptop or whatever, or your actual DVD machine, and that's a good time versus sitting there scrolling through your streaming device, and
Right.
you can do that for 2 hours and still not find anything. Where something like Jem, you just put in like the old school cartoons of her, and that's a good time.
Right. You know what? And this is what's interesting too, because things have spawned off of Jem itself, besides this movie that probably shouldn't have saw the light of day. Um, we've already mentioned about the cosplay. There's people with tattoos, t-shirts. There is even a dark Jem comic book series.
Really?
Yes. That would be interesting to read.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yes. So the fans are out there. We're out there. We're all about it, but stick with it. Stick with what we know, and you'll do fine.
Well, I'll tell you, Coop. I'm glad that we have that true love and appreciation for all things great and retro.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, Jem and the Holograms is way up there at the top of our list.
Yes.
We are not embarrassed to say that. Yes, we are Gen Xers. We are proud Gen Xers, and we are proud fans of Jem and the Holograms. So, I don't know. I think that it was nice doing, a second part to Jem, to talk about some of the things we loved and cherished about this show and our memories.
Yes.
Share that with some of our Orchard Archiver fans as well.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just glad that we have the memories of coming up and having that connection where our imaginations were endless, and
Yes.
you can't even hardly describe it. It's so it's so mind-blowing.
Right. It's I think we've said this with other things. It's euphoric.
It is.
Yeah. I think that's just the easy way to say you can't put words to it, really. The feeling and where you see it, and yeah.
Well, I think it's time to push the archivers off the backstage there, Coop. You do the business.
Well, you know what? There's 65 episodes, and there's just not enough time to cover it, although we would try.
Right. Yeah, we
But,
would.
We gave you just a little brief synopsis of this, and, there's plenty of fun and mystery and edge of your seat excitement. So, you know what? Jem is a gem, and we highly, highly recommend you rewatch or watch for the first time, and you will not be disappointed.
So the second time is show's over, Synergy.
And that's it for this week's episode. To make sure that you never miss out on another second of our Chiralicious podcast, meet up with us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Bye for now, and thanks so much for listening.